Spring Hill. This is what's unfolding in the morning, or not even in the morning, this is in the afternoon of November 29th, 1864. You've got Hood's army, you got Stanley, you've got multiple generals, you've got our poor boy Sam stuck down here at the bottom. And this is really hard to explain for everybody that's not watching the YouTube channel, in the sense that they're seeing the graphics that we have on the screen.
Right.
But looking at this from a military perspective, in the sense of we have an understanding of how the battlefield operates, what happens, how it works, and so on and so forth. You know, we've got the Union is holding Spring Hill.
Right.
And they're doing that to protect probably supplies and stuff going towards Nashville.
Right.
So they're using this as pretty much as like a blocking position to hold the Confederate Army off, to make sure that they don't get to Nashville in an untimely
and then again to get the rest of them supplies. But yeah, I mean, it was almost, they were that buying time, you know what I mean? Slow them down, you know, basically hold the Confederate Army at bay for a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I really think was going on.
Yeah.
And then, you know, so we've got Hood coming up, and they're gonna split off a little bit. You know, we're gonna get down into more separate, like the regiments and everything. And you know, and if you are a Civil War historian, like I said, go fuck yourself, because we don't know exactly all that. We're just looking at like
just what we're getting right here and what we picked up, you know,
from reading, yeah.
And then what we see on the map.
We didn't do years of study on this. Like, remember, we took a week. We picked a battle, took a week. we learned everything that we could about it. We're gonna sit down. We're gonna have a best educated conversation that we can about it. So we've got the South that's pushing up. They want to take Nashville. Everything in between where they are and Nashville, to me, is a stop along the way.
Yes. They're
not really wanting to, like we talked about, they don't want to really get these full-on forced battles.
Right. I mean, like, I agree. To me, I think Hood's got a lot going on, as in, he don't want a major battle down here. He's trying to save everything to get to Nashville to use.
Right, because his end goal is probably take Nashville.
Because I think
turn the tide of the war. Confederates on your side. Morale's up.
Right.
We lost it.
They were in need of a victory, which they have not been getting this whole time, this whole year, basically.
And then we've left the Union Army to build up fortified positions.
Right.
So not only did you lose the position, now you gotta go take it.
Now you come back to fortified positions.
And they've probably dug in pretty well. So looking at the map, looking at what we're breaking down, Spring Hill is really on the Union side from 4:30 or 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock, and the dark blue lines, if you are watching the YouTube channel, is already pre-set. They're in their position.
Right.
This is all the Confederates trying to get their movement to how they're going to attack, what they're going to do, and they have a very good strategic mindset in the sense of what they're going to do. They're just not executing.
No, they lack the execution on this.
So we do see some intermediate positions, but we do see, you know, like they build the line going, and they're stretching. You can see the Confederate line is stretched from Johnson all the way down here, and what is that? Philipperville or Philipville or whatever. They're stretched from there, probably all the way up to Franklin.
Yeah.
Or is that what it is?
I think Franklin's the next stop. And you know, the further you stretch out, it's hard to supply ammo.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And back to what we were talking about, the runners and the horses and trying to.
The battlefield confusion back then.
Now you can't see your unit guy. Like you're literally relying on the runner.
Right, on the runner. Yeah, for that battlefield intel.
Yeah, so and so set.
Yeah,
they made their marker.
You figure where Claiborne's at, he has no idea what's going on where Stewart's at, even further up. You know what I mean? He has no idea.
And they do their split off, like right in here.
Yeah.
So you got Johnson is heading over, you've got Brown heading over, Claiborne heading over, but now you got Buford, was it Chalmers, Jackson, Forrest, Stewart, they're all stretched.
Yeah.
Everybody's stretched out.
And that's a hell of a cavalry you got right there.
Oh, yeah.
And
Bell, Crossland, Rucker, Biffle, Armstrong, they're all stretched out. And then what a lot of people aren't talking about is there's a fucking lake in the middle of this.
Yes. Right in the middle.
So now you've got a swamp or whatever that is. What is that?
I think it was more like a marsh maybe.
Preserved and whole in part by the Civil War. So that just tells you what it is now. But yeah, I mean, you've got a body of water, whether it's a swamp, a lake,
right?
Even if it's a swamp, I mean, that's just
still shit. Yeah,
that's hard to push a line through. So now you've got to set up all these positions, and Sam is going to be kicked out down at the bottom down here, and he's gonna push with Bate and with Claiborne and Johnson to go towards that turnpike that we've been talking about. And when we say turnpike, we're talking about
a road.
Pretty
Columbia
much
Pike. Yeah.
Yeah, Columbia Pike. Yeah, we're talking about pretty much like a mini highway.
Especially back then, which was important.
Probably a dirt path.
Go from town to town to town, just straight on through.
So we're not talking about like a major interstate like I-40.
No,
we're talking about like...
It's like it's basically connected all the towns together up to Nashville.
It's probably the path that everybody took to transport goods and everything like that. So they're going to push, and this is all happening at like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. They're all pushing, they're hitting intermediate positions, which means they're set up in positions that they're going to have to push from afterwards. And we all know what happens in intermediate positions. Yeah. It's like you get there thinking it's a permanent.
And it's not.
Yep, it's not. You start digging foxholes or setting up tanks, covering your tank, whatever.
Right.
And they don't have tanks in, but we're talking about it from our experience in the sense of like, you get to a position, you think it's going to be permanent.
And it ain't.
And then something changes, and now like all the hard work you've done to build up this position.
It's gone, because you're packing up, you're pulling out.
And you're pushing forward, and then when you push forward, you've got to redig those positions. You got to reset. And let's be honest. When you get to the end point after a long movement, and you think that this is your position, how much work do you put in? Probably a lot, right?
A lot. Especially here's where I'm going to have to defend myself. So, and then when you're told, no, we're not doing it here, you're going to be pissed.
And then you got to move 5 more miles, 10 more miles, whatever, to your next position.
And do the same thing again.
How well do you think these battle positions are being built?
I said
further down the road.
Yeah, but I think, exactly. But I think, and then you lose confidence, I think, of your command.
Yeah, like, oh, you said this was an end state.
Yeah.
Now you're telling me I gotta push. We've all been there.
Oh, yeah.
We've all been in that position where we're like, yes, this is it. This is what we're gonna build up the defend. We're gonna.
And it's like, no.
And this is probably where Sam was.
Yeah.
This big long march.
Yeah.
Some skirmishes along the way. If he's been in some or whatever, it doesn't even matter. It's a march.
It's the march that, to me, it's the whole march getting there, and not even so much the fighting yet. You know, like I said, when they pushed Bate out, it took them 2 hours to get to that road. They heated up.
Yeah, because you're moving in the sense of like you can make contact at any time.
Right.
You got to remember they've done the whole.
Right. Yeah.
Make contact, break contact, make contact, break contact.
So you probably never know where you're going to come across. You know where that next engagement's going to be.
So your movement's probably slow and methodical.
Right.
It's not rapid. at this point.
Right now, because again, you're probably one of the orders. Probably, let's try not to lose so many guys.
Yeah, it's probably rapid in the sense of we need to get there, but it's also probably slow and methodical in the sense of like,
let's get there safely.
Yeah. Let's try not to lose anybody along the way.
Along the way.
Then you're fighting terrain.
Yeah.
I mean, we know being in just eastern Tennessee.
Yeah.
You say 5 miles. What was that, 5 miles of flat ground? Or is there rolling hills in between?
Yeah. 5 miles in Tennessee, in East Tennessee, you know what I mean? Up a mountain.
Down a mountain.
It's.
And I know even being out, like I lived out in western Tennessee, of course, being at Fort Campbell, but I know even the Nashville area, it's not as flat as everybody tries to make it out.
No, they still got they got some good hills out there. My wife's grandmother used to live out there. I mean, they still got some rough terrain. It's not easy.
Even taking like a slow incline.
Especially when you're tired.
And you've been marching for miles and miles and miles, and you've got
months
gear.
on end.
Yeah, and then like you said, you're moving horses and wagons and like.
Oh yeah.
The infantry is pushing, but you know there's a lot of
you
the
can't.
officers' tents need to be moved.
Yeah, back then they put the tents up and.
I mean, there's a lot of shit going on in the background that a lot of
Yeah.
people. It's not just marching till you see contacts and they never need to sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, you're moving a bunch of different stuff.
Oh yeah.
So here we are marching to what was that road called again?
Columbia Pike.
Columbia Pike. Sorry, I don't know why I keep forgetting. I keep wanting to say something else, and I don't want to be wrong. So they're marching towards Columbia Pike, and this is what Sam's unit's doing: is they're marching to Columbia Pike. And you know, after this long movement and just little skirmishes, and I'm sure there's more in between. There's probably somebody that lives in the area and knows a lot about it, but I'm sure they're hitting pockets of like Union troops. It might even be coming up on old Union positions.
Right, just little skirmishes here and there. You know what I mean? And from what I read, it was a battle formation, so they're like that, just moving. I've read it was like 3,000 yards, and it took them time because you're just marching.
And when we say like battle positions, we're talking about like formation.
Yeah,
like,
columns.
That's where the whole left what is it? Was it dress right dress?
Yeah, the whole like we do in boot camp. Yeah, dress right dress. March that formation.
Yeah, eyes right. If
and you know, hold them. Yeah, and they gotta
left,
hold
right,
that.
Left,
you know,
and, like,
and for 3,000 yards.
Everybody's staying on line and marching together. Like, the best way I can compare it to the modern day military is like hands across the range, in the sense of like they're looking for something, and everybody's gonna be on line, moving together.
All one line, moving in.
And you know that's got to be tiring in itself, in the sense of like.
And you're not coming up really on nothing. You know, you probably hear a few shots, or you know, because when I said you had your skirmishers, then like 500 yards, then your main troops, and then your reserve were behind you. But
so
still,
you got scouts.
Scouts, basically, yeah, they call them skirmishers, but yeah, basically you got your scouts out there, making your first contact, you know.
Yeah, looking for the enemy, making sure the path is clear, reporting back, like all that stuff. So Sam gets set up, and they finally hit their end point.
Right, and it was close to dark, I guess, back then.
Yeah, so I mean, probably thinking about. What is that? 5 o'clock to 5 p.m. to dark. I mean, that's the only information we don't know if they arrived at 7.
Yeah.
We just know at 5 o'clock they're probably marching to that position. They could have got there at 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. We have no idea. So you know, they get set in, and they're probably thinking about, well, you know, the Union Army's probably not moving at dark.
Yeah.
We're not moving in dark. They don't have night vision. They have
nothing.
You got lantern light. And what's a lantern gonna show you?
It don't give you enough distance. You know what I mean? It don't give you enough to
someone's gonna see you with a lantern before you.
That lantern will get knocked out of your hand before you
even see them.
Yeah, and like I said, that settles in, and I read where Claiborne and Brown, they were afraid to even make any kind of assault, I guess, towards Spring Hill, the town, because they had no clue about what was going on their right flank. I mean, they had no idea.
Yeah.
So they just sat stagnant.
Because you're waiting for. Oh man, especially at night. Imagine maneuvering the battlefield to like give information during the day.
Yeah.
Your adrenaline's already pumping. You're already moving. You're doing this. You're doing that.
And then you throw the night in there. I mean.
Yeah.
You're asking for.
And if you're not familiar with the area.
That's the other thing. You know what I mean? I mean, like me personally, guys like Sam would have been more valuable more than anything.
I think so as well. Like,
well,
you grew up here, Sam. You're the scout now. You're the runner now.
Where's the best creek crossings? Because you see all the creeks and rivers right there. Where's the best place?
They're just marching straight across.
Straight across.
So you got Schofield is using that pike as probably like an interstate.
Oh yeah.
He knows. He doesn't really know. He probably knows the terrain, but doesn't know it as well as like someone that lives there. Right. He knows his most direct route into Spring Hill.
And he goes to Nashville.
So with the Union Army, he is just going to be like, look, we're going to take this as fucking far as we can.
And then
if we hit contact, we'll break off into the woods a little ways. We'll skirt it, and then we'll come back.
Deal with it as we go on. Yeah, you're right.
So I think the main purpose here was for Hood to get his army set along that pike in the sense of really what I think he should have done is instead of pushing Granbury and Lowry and them to follow the Union Army up into Spring Hill and set their main position, I think he should have used them as like a trap door.
And you still had a heck of a cavalry unit sitting there doing nothing.
Just waiting.
I mean,
to me, I think the big goal shouldn't have been Spring Hill. I think the big goal should have been cutting that pike off.
That's what I would have thought, especially cutting, because Schofield was still kind of make his way up, so he was kind of in Columbia still. Pushing, so I mean, cut him off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Lock down that route. I mean, I guess the worst thing that
I mean, not even here, maybe. I mean, up here. I mean, stop him from going to Franklin, which was like, I think, 11 miles away.
I think, to me, looking at, and it is easier to make decisions based off of when you can see the map. You can see the
right, it's all different when it's right in your face, real world, yeah.
When you got the map laid out and you know where everybody is, where all the pieces are on the board. But, I mean, I guess the worst thing that would have happened about closing that pike off is that the Union Army already got past you. But from your previous skirmishes that they hadn't made it that far.
Yeah, I mean, if you had a good, decent scouting intelligence, coming in.
Well, you just fought them in Columbia.
Yeah, so
how far have they made it versus you? And if you can get word if someone's a little bit further ahead and say, hey, fuck Spring Hill.
Let's close off that pike.
And shut down Schofield.
Yeah.
Then we know Spring Hill's not being reinforced.
Right.
And at the very least, they're going to have to do like a big...
It's got to be a big maneuver, to get around.
So that should buy time for the rest of your army to come up on Spring Hill.
Yeah.
That's what
I think the same thing. But
I think the end state was Nashville.
That was, I think, the goal and key to Tennessee, especially out there in central Tennessee, is Nashville.
So I think they got into their skirmishes, they did their thing, but what's really crazy, and this is how I'm going to lead this off. So we got the line set on the pike leading into Spring Hill. We've got troops that are setting in place, in either late evening positions on Spring Hill. But what blows my mind is, I'm going to start this off, is our boy Sam says when we got to the turnpike near Spring Hill, lo and behold, wonder of wonders, the whole Yankee army had passed in the night.
Yeah.
So I mean, Sam was already set at the pike. They got there.
Yeah, and they bivouacked that because it got dark.
It got dark. They probably started bedding down, eating, campfires, and there's even documented proof from like Schofield's army that when they passed on that turnpike,
yeah, they saw
the Confederate campfires.
And you know, like we talked about earlier, you know, you especially, you know, growing up, living out here in the country like we do, you hear every little thing.
Yeah.
And you can't tell me they didn't hear a whole, basically a corps moving through that road.
I mean, that's like, imagine,
And
so like when you're
wagons and
set
cans
on
and
the road, right?
Yeah.
You're set a little off a gravel road. Imagine if you heard an entire like infantry corps.
Oh yeah, I mean, I hear what's coming up this road, you know, at night, something hauling ass. You know what I mean?
No, imagine like 1,000, 2,000.
I'm gonna be, what the hell is that? But there was no action taken. And again, if you have guard duty, sir, the Union Army's moving.
Yeah, like who was in charge of watching that?
Yeah, I mean, and then again, I mean, it could have been Hood. We'll get him in the morning.
Yeah, no, and you know, we've had the conversation. I really think that Hood was set up along this line, watching the road in the sense of, we're going to hold here, we're not going to set up a blocking position on the road, we're not going to do any of that, and we're going to wake up in the morning, the Union Army is going to come marching down this road.
Yeah, I think, like we talked about, it's going to be a turkey shoot.
Yeah.
And
he didn't account for Schofield being like,
the smarter man.
let's march to
Let's
the night.
just move it.
Because he knew once he marched to the night, he could get to Springfield where there was already people in place.
Right. So now you get there, now you got a bigger force.
And you can rest, and the only time your guys are going to need to be called into action is when the attack happens.
Yes.
And I wouldn't doubt that the Union Army had already built into their plan that the people that were already at Spring Hill could defend that position.
I bet they probably felt comfortable.
And they were counting on Schofield, I'm sure, as a reinforcement. Right. But if your reinforcements are already there, asleep, and all you gotta do is go wake them up, and you don't have to wait for them to march or fight their way in.
Yeah, it's a different ball game then. You know what I mean?
Morale's gotta be through the roof.
Gotta be up. Yeah.
You know, like, hey, if we get into some shit, we can wake these guys up.
And you gotta feel that when they march by them, you know, being a Union soldier, you're like, got one on you guys. That helps a little bit.
And everything, I'll give credit to Schofield in the sense of the discipline.
Yeah,
to march
on through,
and not turn off the road.
Yeah, no, just stay on the road, hit it, and keep going.
Because he knew he was probably pushing his men at the brink.
Yeah, just as hard.
Like,
just as hard.
They're tired, they're worn out, they can't stand a fight.
Yeah.
It's nighttime, but what they can do,
it's almost
they can march.
Right, and it's almost like, I know then Franklin was the next fight, but it's almost like, you know, if we get to Nashville, hey, we'll have everything we need there. You know, reinforcements, everything, you know.
I mean,
but Hood, they dropped the ball in this one. They missed a big opportunity, I feel.
I don't know if I would have had the same discipline as Schofield in the sense of marching down that turnpike, marching down that road.
Because you're taking a hell of a risk of getting hit from a flank hard or what's built up there.
Well, once you realize that you see the campfires and they're not doing shit, I don't know that I wouldn't have had the discipline to be like, fix bayonets.
Let's start taking, you know, have my artillery keying on them campfires. See what you stirred up in the nest. I mean, that'd be tempting. You're right. That does take discipline just to keep moving. And maybe, like I said, his sights were get to Nashville as quick as I can.
Yeah.
You know.
But to me, marching up that road,
watching
and looking over and seeing the enemy campfires,
Yeah.
I probably would have been like, fix bayonets.
Let's take them now. Let's take them.
And I would have wiped out all the bait in the middle of the night.
Oh yeah. Poor Sam.
Poor Sam, yes.
Poor Sam.
That's just what's crazy is a different caliber officer in the sense of Schofield knew his task, he knew what he needed to complete. He went above and beyond. His soldiers
went above and beyond.
In the sense that they could have laid down and be like, I'm fucking tired,
We're
bro.
done.
Like, let's camp here and we'll fucking do it in the morning. No, they marched right along with him. They go to Spring Hill. But I mean, in the middle of the night, look what you could have done.
Yeah.
Even if the casualty rate would have been a little higher.
Yeah.
Because you are fighting at night.
Yeah.
You would have caught the whole Confederate army
laying down. Relax.
And if they didn't hear you marching down the road, they definitely ain't hearing you coming through the woods.
I'm telling you. And then do nothing.
I would have been like, fix bayonets and head towards the campfire.
Yeah, let's do this. I mean, what would stop you?
And that's when you would have saw Special Forces in the morning.
But,
the night owls.
The night owls.
A Civil War.
Yeah, that's it.
But no, he marches on to Spring Hill, and Sam's probably left in like a little bit of like
I gotta say disappointment would probably.
I mean, imagine rolling up. And so let's say, this timeline is very vague.
Yeah.
Sam says, when we got to the turnpike near Spring Hill, lo and behold, the wonders of wonders, the whole Yankee army had passed during the night.
That's bad.
So let's say that Sam didn't even get there till the next morning.
Yeah.
That had to be such a morale, defeat in the sense of the army you've been competing with, the troops that you've been competing with to get to a certain point. When you were sleeping, they decided to keep going.
Yeah.
That extra motivation, that extra, whatever it was. I don't know.
Wonder if a lot of these commanders felt like a bunch of asses.
Oh, I'm sure.
But I was saying, I mean, I don't know. It'd be really disappointing. As in, if he didn't want to engage, then it's happy. But you're still stuck in this war. You still gotta, you know what I mean?
And now you've got to assault not just a fortified position, but an even more fortified position.
Yeah.
Because you've been in competition with Schofield to get to Spring Hill.
Right.
And it almost boils back down to troop on troop competition, right?
Yeah.
Like Alpha Troop versus Bravo Troop in a little event, a little small event.
Right.
That you're tired, they're tired, but we're gonna go ahead and do the next task and get one up on them.
Who can prevail? Right. Who can reach down deep?
And I think this is the birth of the officer now, in the sense of go get them, boys. And you're like, no, sir, no. Maybe they read battles like this in West Point and they're like, I'll be just like Schofield and take them in the night, I don't fucking know. But there's a lot going on in this little
There's a lot going on one side, but nothing going on the other, And
that'll lead me into my next thing in saying that. So I looked it up. The Battle of Spring Hill is really not even a battle. It's more like a skirmish. And I'm not trying to take away from any of the respect or anything that's given to.
No, but because as in battle casualties, it was considered a
skirmish.
A skirmish. I mean, it was low.
But now you think about this. There's 19,000 troops between both sides engaged.
Yeah.
There's 7,000 Union troops. There's 12,000 Confederates. They're going to take 850 casualties as a whole.
As a whole, right.
So there's 350 on the Union side and 500 on the Confederate side.
As in what's been happening in the major battles, that is a low number.
And that's what's crazy to think. 500 guys.
Yeah.
Is not a low number in mine in your book. Not even in today's army.
Well,
you assess the situation and you say we're gonna take 500 casualties.
oh my God, something's got to be.
Something is fucked up.
Somebody's got some explaining. We need to hang back and
But for
reevaluate.
them, that was not.
That was not a big loss, you know.
So even looking at the statistics of, 2%. I think it was like, don't quote me exactly, but it's like 2% of like the population in the United States at the time
Yeah.
gave their lives in the Civil War as a whole.
Yeah.
Only 1% joins the army not
Today.
the army, the military.
Military today, yeah.
That's across all branches.
Yeah.
1%. So double our armed forces right now.
That's what you have in the dead in the Civil War.
Yeah, percentage-wise.
Percentage-wise, right.
I mean, maybe if you do the numbers and like the population
Yeah.
higher or whatever. But we're talking about 2% of the nation at that time.
That's a lot. I mean,
And that's from both sides.
both sides. Yeah, combined as a nation. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's hard to chew on.
And you're talking about 500 dudes from the
Yeah.
Confederate Army at this little slice.
I mean, you probably hear people talk, and they just take the Confederate dead and wounded. People talk, oh, they only lost 500. They don't look at it like how we do with the Sam Watkins.
Yeah.
The onlys is the guys we concentrate on.
So yeah, so leading into that, think about it, like 120 men in his company.
When you enlisted
He's one of 7 left at the end of the war.
I mean, that is something else. I mean, and you talk about, when it was over, as we know, there's another fight going on in you.
Yeah.
And
we talked about this earlier, that it's in his area.
And I can almost guarantee Sam was no exception to the rule,
No.
So.
I mean, what was it? I think I might be I'm a little off, but I think there was like 1,200 and that's not his company, but there's 1,200 in like the regiment.
The regiment, yeah.
And only 65 are left at the end of the war to surrender.
Yeah.
So imagine 3-4 years of combat. You start off with 1,200 dudes in your regiment, and as those numbers cut down, guys are being pushed into other companies.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, we started out with 1,200. Maybe we got I don't know. Maybe they got 6 companies, and they start collapsing.
Yeah, your companies get smaller.
And it's all based off of what commanders left. If this company commander died, take what's left from him. That builds up your company.
Oh yeah.
Back to full strength, and then you lose those guys.
That was something about because I know there's other battles I read about where you look at the death. The guys, there was like only 50 guys in a company. 30 guys in a company. I mean, they were just like dwindled down to nothing.
So and you're pulling those numbers from other companies.
Other companies, right?
That have lost probably 95%.
Yeah.
There's 5 dudes left in this company. Mix them with another.
I mean, yeah.
Mix them with another. Mix them with another.
Yeah, you're eliminating companies.
So you probably started with A through D. Now you're down to A. And you've pulled whatever's left from all the other companies. So not only has Sam watched the 120 guys from his company probably go away, he's probably watched guys from other companies that he's met later in the war.
Within his,
that he's became friends with. They got the same sense of purpose in the sense that they're still fighting for the same regiment.
I mean, it had to been.
You watch a regiment level turn into a company level, but still being called a regiment.
And I mean, I don't know. At the end of the war, I mean, it had to been. I guess I don't know if he was happy that the war was ended, but to know what you've lost, as in what you've seen, your buddy, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
That dwindle, that had to been heartbreaking.
Because not only does he survive the battle at Spring Hill, he goes on to Franklin, and then he goes on to Nashville. And then, like you were talking about, he ends up in the Eastern.
Yeah, the Eastern Theater where they surrendered.
Yeah. So, I mean, just in the campaign of Tennessee alone, Spring Hill has to be a detrimental, like, morale cut down.
Oh, yeah.
In the sense of knowing you could have stopped the Yankees here, dead in their tracks, and helped out. You whiffed that in the sense of, like, you went to bed, you show up, they've already passed through. And then now you've got to try to assault Spring Hill, then you got to go on and assault Franklin, and then you got to go on to Nashville.
Yeah, you know, they consider like Spring Hill, Union Victory, Franklin, but what got me about that, they consider those Union victories, Hood kept pushing.
Oh, yeah. All the way up.
Yeah, all the way up. Even though they considered it not one victory for him, he kept pushing. I just don't think he was the same caliber of general as we talk about as in Sherman and Grant. You know what I mean? I just don't think he was that caliber of a general.
I hate to say it like this, I really do, but I think he was bottom of the barrel. I think there were multiple general changes before Hood.
Oh yeah, and it was like we said, we saw them on both sides. You know, Abraham Lincoln was shit canning them quick as they come.
They were switching out, and then and then for Sam to have to go through that in the sense of like, this guy's not your leader anymore, or this guy is, and we all know it, even down to company level, you get a new company commander.
Yeah. How
quick things can change, how quick they can turn shit around or whatever. So. To wrap it all up, you know, I know we could probably dig deeper into this and we could probably talk more about it, but like the fact is there's not a lot of information and we're going off like a week. But what I did learn is all the Civil War conflicts that we study today are all based off of the general's accounts, right? It's what Grant's wrote, it's what Lee's wrote, all these people. But still to this day, one of the best accounts of what really happened comes from Sam Watkins in the Tennessee campaign. And he is a private.
The private. You know, kind of like
writing his memoir in the sense of like.
And I feel like what this show's about is taking that everyday soldier, and I think Sam is the perfect one to start off with.
Yeah.
You know,
and we both ordered his book.
So
I'm sure once we read through it,
we'll probably be back here talking more about Sam Watkins, Private Sam Watkins. You know.
Yeah. In the sense of what else did he endure?
Oh yeah, I'm really, like I said, he's been through a lot and not a lot of victories under his belt.
I mean, that's like a football team taking loss after loss after loss after loss, and then you've got to sit down at the end of the day and write about it.
Yeah,
it's hard, I'm sure, writing from the losing side. I mean,
really, and then try to find something positive out of it. You know, like we're saying, we read that when he was writing this all down, he was laughing a lot. Those are probably the good times he remembered.
Yeah, probably holding his musket up.
I'm interested to see what he had to say. Again, not especially a young 21-year-old soldier, didn't have a lot of victories.
Yeah.
In 4 years.
And he probably signed up, I'm sure. And, I'm sure we'll find out when we read the book, but I'm sure his mentality of the war had to change over time in the sense of like, he first signed up. I do know that he comes from like a family of slave owners and like things like that, but so in the beginning he probably thought he was doing what's right, and he's standing up for his family, he's standing up for his new country.
Right.
But what do you think that looks like at the end when he looks around and sees? Do you think? I mean.
Well, even like you just take Spring Hill. 6 months later, the war's over.
Yeah.
I mean, April '65. That was it.
You had to have known, though.
This is a losing battle, and we keep pushing forward.
Yeah. And to keep doing it.
Respect to guys like Sam.
It's either internal belief, or at some point he did what most of us do and said, fuck it.
Fuck it.
I'm just here for the ride.
Yeah. See if we swing back by home again.
Yeah. Because, I mean, for me, dude, strolling up on Spring Hill knowing family's close.
I wonder there's just a sense of being bummed. Wake up and that whole army is gone. Feel like, well, fuck me. Missed our opportunity.
Yeah, well, what did he say? Oh man, I had it written down. He said, "What the bird has flown."
The bird has flown. I think it was.
Quoted. The bird had flown.
Yeah.
That was like how he summed up that whole predicament.
Gone.
It was just like
it's gone. Yeah.
And I think if you sum that up now, it was probably like, well, we fucked up.
Yeah, that's pretty much it now. Yeah, instead of being polite about the bird flown, yeah, just we fucked up.
And we let them all go in the middle of the night.
Yeah. You always got that one guy, well, fuck me.
I mean, that's like, coming from a tanker's perspective, that's probably like, and I'll even compare it to the scout world, but it's probably like setting up a line of tanks and being like, hey, when the enemy brings their tanks through here, we're going to get them.
Yeah.
And then waking up the next morning and just seeing like tank tracks and being like, we let the whole
fucking tank battalion leave right in front of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, well, fuck me.
And I know, like, being a scout, like, if you were sitting on an OP and your whole objective is to watch the enemy.
Right.
And let's say everybody fucking falls asleep in an OP and you wake up the next morning and you're like,
well.
to bring this back, I know it is nowhere near the same level, that same experience.
Yeah.
That's only what I can imagine. We were in NTC, and we're fighting Geronimo, we're doing their whole thing or whatever. And I don't remember exactly what led up to this moment, but we were moving, and we'd all been, I mean, everybody, we're in a gun truck, you know, so it's like, I'm driving, my NCO is the TC, we've got a gunner up in the turret, but we're like doing some kind of maneuvering or whatever. And I am a private at this time, so I don't really know exactly the logistics of what's going on.
Yeah.
But we went to this like spot to where we were supposed to link up, and then I think we were like waiting on something. We were waiting on where we were moving next or something like that, and we all fucking fell asleep in the truck. And you know, I remember waking up and looking around, and there was nobody around us. We're out in the middle of the desert, like by ourselves. And I remember in that moment, I was like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
The bird has flown.
The bird has flown a long ways.
I don't know which direction. At least Sam was like,
yeah,
I
the
know
bird went up that way, yeah.
You know, like, I remember like waking up my NCO at the time, and we all kind of like looked at each other like, what the fuck? Like, where do we go? What do we do? You know, we like luckily drove around and found out where we needed to be, but I'm saying like, and that's at a time where you have, you know, radios, you have multiple people like responsible for one thing. You know, there's a lot of moving pieces, but at the same time, we were all like better equipped in our.
Right, not like this.
Yeah.
You know.
Not like somebody walked by and was like, all right, build your campfire and take a nap. And you're like, okay, cool.
I can't believe you guys all fell asleep. We just stopped, parked, and racked out.
Yeah, we were stopped. I don't even remember where we were. I think we were waiting for like everybody to get to like our little rally point to move on to wherever.
Yeah.
I'm not even 110%. Like I said, I was a private, pretty new to the Army.
Like
I just knew to drive the truck where I was told to drive the truck to. And I remember we had been awake for so long, like
just exhausted.
The night before we were supposed to get to that location, but we blew a tire and like, so we ended up not getting to sleep, you know. Then so it's probably like, I mean, it could have been like Sam. I mean, I don't fucking know. They could have been marching, wagon wheel somewhere broke off, and they had to wait for that shit, and then. They finally got to where they were supposed to be.
Yeah, that'd make me feel like bigger shit. They've got broken down wagons and they were able to fix them without us even knowing.
Yeah.
You know, pushing on.
So I have no idea what was going on with Sam and the point of like where his company was, what they were doing. You know, they could have been They could have been way back here marching to get up.
Right, and and that's why I think getting his book's gonna be interesting, because
Yeah.
especially we already touched this. I want to, and it being his home area, I like to see what he really has to say about it.
Yeah, because I mean, he could have been like, we don't know. He could have been fucking tired and delirious and not know where he was at.
Yeah.
And
Lay
then get
down.
to like
Yeah,
a
no
stopping
problem.
point, lay down, wake up, and be like, oh, they're all gone. Or he could have been marching the entire time, like I was when I got, more seasoned in the military. Like I knew where I was and what was happening, and like, oh, we're behind, or what. He could have been like checking points off in his mind, like, well, we're not stopping here because we're gonna take this. And then when they got to that point, maybe he was like, oh, we got here first. That's why they're telling us to sleep.
Because regardless of his rank, at this point, he is a seasoned.
Oh, yeah. He's definitely earned the rank of like E4, E5, like modern day.
I mean, he has been there from day one. You know what I mean?
And I don't remember when it is, but he does get promoted to like 4th corporal or something like that.
Oh, does he really? Yeah.
In the sense of he picked up the enemy's battle flag or something like that.
Oh, shit.
But like I said, I don't know a lot about it because I haven't read the book. I think I remember reading something about that. And that could have been shit at the end of the war. It could have been like the last battle he was in. I don't know. But I know at this time he is referred to as Private Sam Watkins.
Yeah.
And he, like you said, he's already a seasoned
vet. I mean,
he's done his time. He's been in since '61.
Marched all over the damn place.
Motherfucker fought in Tennessee to march all the way down into the South. Come back around, hit Atlanta, and come back up in. Like, I mean, dude's been through it.
Been there. He's a been there, done that guy. And that's the stories that never get told in are the Sam Watkins. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see read his book.
Yeah, because
I'm looking forward to it.
The Civil War, just in general, especially because it's older, it's history. Like we talked about,
it's easy to be passionate to grasp.
It's probably told through battle reports and these officers that have made it into higher places in politics later on, and they write their memoirs. They're a little more educated.
Right.
I mean, think about for Sam to write a memoir, being as low ranking as he was and stuff, is very uncommon.
And I got another book. It's called The Texas Cavalryman's Civil War. Now, again, it was his letters to his girlfriend, his sweetheart, and family and stuff. It was a pretty good book, but I think this one's gonna be better because, like, from what I understand, he puts a lot of humor in it. Sam, and then just day-to-day life of a soldier back then, and it's probably things we can relate to with him.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna close this out. Let us know in the comments and stuff if this is something that you want to hear more about, or things like this that you want to hear more about. Or we'll put like the link or something to Sam's book.
Yeah,
because we've both already ordered it. It's on the way. We're both gonna read it. But we'll put it down there for anybody that does want to read about Sam Watkins and his journey.
I'd probably recommend, especially there's probably from what I see, a lot of Civil War reenactors and buffs have read it, but I think it'd be something for if you're new getting into the Civil War. This is probably a great book to start off with,
especially if you're a veteran like
us.
That wasn't like I'm not saying that you weren't anything. I'm saying like you weren't a general or you weren't
you're just an everyday soldier. You did your job. That's probably the book for you if you're getting into the Civil War. Just be able to touch, if you're dealing with issues you can relate to what we go through now to what Sam went through.
Because I will say the big thing that a lot of people don't hit on in the Civil War is the everyday. You always hear General Grant and his men, right? General Lee and his men. What about his fucking men though? You know, like they have a totally different account of the battlefield.
Right, and I think what happens is they're just told as men, those guys have names. They were like Sam here, and these guys had names. They were.
And I know it's hard when you're writing like a memoir or a book. You're not going to be like General Grant and Private so and so, and General.
Right, you're just going,
you are generalizing in the men perspective,
Right.
but for us to tell the general soldier's perspective, and you know, we're gonna get into later wars like the Gulf War and the invasion of Iraq and you know, and Korea and stuff like that, where you get to see a little bit more of those accounts.
Right.
But especially Revolutionary War, War of 1812, all those wars, the general public was not educated enough to read and write. So to hear the general soldier's story is very far in between.
It's like basically a treat.
Yeah.
A historical treat.
It really is.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Grant and them are educated in the sense of the reason why they're officers.
Right. West Pointers. Yeah. Where the old Sam was just
a normal guy.
Farm boy.
And you know, he never had intentions of writing his book.
No, it was people, I guess, family members who kind of encouraged him to write for generations, and I guess he did a great job, you know,
because he is one of the best accounts of the Tennessee campaign in the sense of like he was there for every battle. You know, how many generals and officers were either shot, killed, or pulled.
Yeah, and you know, and Sam was, I think, wounded once or twice. So I mean, he earned what they call the red badge of courage. You know.
Yeah.
So.
And what a lot of people don't talk about is like those generals' accounts. They're only accounting for a portion in the sense that they could have been replaced.
Right.
They could have taken over a new regiment, a new unit, whatever, new corps.
Yeah, because they were switched out all the time.
But those guys stayed, Sam, stayed in that same
thing
the entire time.
Yep.
So no wonder why he has the best account.
Oh yeah.
He was with them from the beginning
and
to the end.
To the end.
Where he might have had, I don't know, 6 different company commanders. He could have had.
Yeah, I think he had a few. I know he had a few. I think it was like 2 or 3 of the First Tennessee Regiment. I think he only had like a couple of them, but still company commanders. You know, well, they come and go.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about full-on generals.
Yes.
Being replaced. Like,
yeah.
That's what, I don't know, that's what blows my mind. So, but yeah, we'll end here, and we'll have something different for you in the next episode. But make sure if you're on YouTube, subscribe, like. If you're on Spotify, I don't even know what you do on that thing. Like it, whatever. And if you genuinely do not care, we don't give a fuck. We're doing this for us and for other people like us. So if you don't like it, you don't fucking like it. If you are some Civil War historian out there that's like, yeah, fuck this whole thing up, well, DM me.
Yeah.
And we'll have a conversation. But other than that,
that's it, man.
Thank you guys for watching it. Let us know what you think. We're excited to put this out on Friday. We're really looking forward.
Looking forward to it. Hey, thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate you.
All right.